Welcome, Chief Justice Martha Koome. Greening the judiciary. When we say greening the judiciary, are we talking about containing the amount of water the judiciary uses in a day? Are we talking about planting trees around the judiciary? What exactly do we mean by greening the judiciary?
All that and more. And thank you for this interview. I want to tell you about the third symposium on greening the judiciaries that is taking place here in Kenya between the 3rd and the 5th of April, when we are bringing judges from all over Africa convening here so that we can see how we can strengthen the role of the judiciaries in addressing climate change in Africa. This is coming after a very successful forum which was held in Johannesburg, and being the first one, then a second one in Maputo, when Kenya was nominated to host the 3rd symposium on greening the judiciaries by the Africa Judicial Education Network on Environmental Law, which we call in short AJNEL. So what that means is that we are all beginning to take responsibility for our environmental protection, for mitigation of the climate change. As you may all understand, climate change and issues environment are not issues we engaged with from the beginning. We are just now reacting to the effects of the climate change, which have become absolutely real, that the climate has changed and it has affected our health. It has affected our economy. It has affected the way we live. And therefore, this is the time for everybody to be talking about climate change. How can we green the spaces that we occupy? How can we also, using the courts, make decisions that ensure that people protect our environment?
At what point, when we're discussing climate change, does the judiciary come in?
Judiciary is at the center of it, because judiciary can issue orders that stop or mitigate against desertification. Those cases come to court. People arguing there are activities here that are undermining our climate, that are causing desertification, that are interfering with our water catchment areas. People are interfering with our rivers, doing things that reduce the levels of the water or even stop people downstream from getting water. So the judiciary is at the center of it. In terms of court cases, but also judiciary occupies spaces, a lot of spaces where we have courthouses, and therefore we can provide an example on how you can green the spaces that you have, because everybody needs to understand we have to protect the environment, not for us today. Whatever I'm doing to the environment, be it land, be it the rivers, or whatever I'm doing to the land, the surface, I must know it's not only for me, but for the generations to come, 100 years, 200 years, or even 1,000 years to come. So we must know that we are the ones owning this baton for now, for the future. And what the judiciary does now in terms of deciding those cases in a way that promotes the protection of the environment will also be protecting the future generation and protecting also our social cohesion, because so many of the conflicts we are having now are moving towards resources. You know, waters for our animals, waters for us to grow food. Those are the new areas of conflict, and therefore the judiciary is at the center. So key of the takeaways from this conference is even to create awareness among Kenyans that we are all stakeholders in the environmental protection and climate mitigation. And we all are guilty for doing or not doing what we are supposed to do. So we are supposed to ask ourselves, what can I do to make the environment where I live better than I found it? And that's what the judiciary is doing. We are seriously planting trees. I believe you were present during our ELC, Environment and Land Court, celebration of 10 years anniversary, when we planted 10,000 trees. I'm not so sure whether those trees, all of them have survived, because thereafter we experienced a very severe drought. Some of them we're trying to look after them, like the ones which were planted outside the office of the Chief Justice. I personally made sure that even if it's the water I drink, I must share with those trees so that they don't die. So the lessons we are learning along the way, it is not just planting trees, but taking care of them. And also using other means that help us protect our environment, like using solar power. That has helped us a lot in the courts where we have put solar panels, because we have saved on electricity bills. And this is a message for many, many Kenyans, for us to realize that we have sun almost throughout the year, which we can tap and use and save on electricity in terms of renewable energy. Also biodigesters, so that the water that we use can be recycled, can water the plants, can water the grass, can do washing. You know, so many things that we can do. So innovation, so that we stop really straining the little environment, the little natural resources we have. I live in a place up country where we have a river. And that river is relied on by so many people. But this particular time, because of the harsh changes we have experienced, that river dried. So where are people getting water from, especially for their cows?
All right, and you mentioned budgetary constraints.
Yes.
The other day, a news alert popped up on my phone, and I saw that we'll have specialized environment courts. Already we have the environment and land courts, because you talked about celebrating the 10-year anniversary.
Yes.
Why is that necessary?
Let me tell you, we are celebrated all over Africa for having the first court in Africa that specifically deals with issues of land and environment. There is no other jurisdiction in Africa that has taken that bold step, and therefore Kenya is to be congratulated. The other day, I was invited to Uganda together with the principal judge of the Environment and Land Court, Justice Angote, to share our experiences with Uganda. And you know, when they heard the strides we have made because of this specialized court, and the kind of backlog of cases that we have in Kenya and what they have in Uganda, they wanted actually Justice Angote to stay there longer and, you know, help them set up the court. But it's a lot of work, because it's not just setting the court. For us, we started with the Constitution, establishing the court of equal status with the High Court to deal with issues of land and environment, because they are so critical. Wherever you go, you step on land, isn't it? Wherever you go, you require a good environment. So why not have a court for that? So
These courts will have a distinct now, as of June.
They are very distinct. Our court has been there since 2011. Environment and Land Court has been there since 2011.
So now, as of June, we'll have an environment court and a land court separate.
What they are doing now is setting two divisions.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It's the division of the courts. One division to deal purely with environment, so that those cases can get due attention, due specialization, and can be dealt with priority, because matters of environment cannot wait. If you are destroying the environment, say you are digging a place, quarrying, and almost making other people's houses fall because of the quarrying activities, or destroying that entire ecosystem, And then you have to go to court and wait for 3 years. You know, by the time the case is done, it may be overtaken by events. Actually, the court is called Environment and Land. Okay. So it's a division.
All right.
Yes.
And might you have an idea of how many such cases we are handling presently? Has there been a trend where they're escalating? Because you've talked about, you've projected that in all likelihood, given the situations, the circumstances we are facing, the conflict over these resources will escalate.
They will. And indeed they are. These cases are also increasing. Cases on environment. I forgot to check the data so that I can tell you exactly how many cases touch on environment, and definitely land cases are more. Environmental cases are less, so that we are talking of 52 judges in Environment and Land Court. Therefore, when we establish the division, I can see it's taking maybe 3 judges to deal with the environment issues. But once they start working and there is awareness all over, I believe their workload will increase with time. But the cases are increasing now because of the conflict for very scarce resources.
All right. And you might have already answered this question in part, but the symposium taking place between April 3rd and the 5th, there will be a lot of other competing events at the same time, I imagine. Why should whoever is viewing now pay particular attention or care specifically about the symposium?
All of us must be concerned about the environment. One, we walk on land. We breathe, we live under an environment. There is no one who is living in space or in another planet. We are all living in this earth. And we have already experienced the devastating effects of the climate change. You can see we have suffered drought, and as a result of drought, our people have been affected so negatively because we rely on this environment to give us rain, to plant in March, and we are assured when we plant, we will harvest in May or June. Where I come from, we plant twice a year. We plant in March and we plant in October. Those are the weather patterns, and we rely on it, and we rely on the rain coming and us harvesting. What has happened? It is unpredictable now when the rains will come, whether we can plant and whether we can harvest. We must find another source of water to grow food. So this is why it is of concern to everybody that if we are over-exploiting the resources that we have and we are depleting them for the future generation, and the message and the why Kenyans should be very careful to follow what is happening in this symposium is that the courts, the judiciary, are the guardians of the Constitution. They are the guardians of the environment and land law. So for our viewers, we are creating awareness. Why everybody should be alert, notice when there are activities that destroy the environment, and they know there is a court where they can go and seek remedy.
So perhaps give us an idea of the scale of this symposium. Somebody was kind enough to share the flyer with me, and I'm just pulling it up, and I see that there are 3 conferences in one.
Indeed. So because we try to maximize on resources and opportunity. It is very difficult to get chief justices from all over Africa to converge in one place. I have been in the area of law for 36 years, 20 of them as a judge. I've never seen a convening of chief justices in Kenya of this magnitude. For the very first time, we have confirmation of 27 chief justices and heads of missions. So when you meet like this, we use the opportunity to speak about the environment, climate change mitigation, to learn best practices from one another, to see what framework we can use as Africa, because we realize that Africa is most affected by the climate change at a higher degree than any other continent. In addition to that, we will be speaking together with the Chief Justices to build collaboration between ourselves and how we deal with the executive and the legislature. Because, you know, we coexist with these two institutions, but we relate to each other the way in-laws relate to each other, and each one of us has their own way of dealing with their own in-law. But if we come together, we can say this is the framework, because we are twins in the sense that we are all serving the same people, but we are independent and there is separation of power, but there are issues that must bring us together. We cannot be successful unless everybody did what they are supposed to do. We need the executive, we need the legislature, we need all Kenyans to join hands so that we will succeed. So we will be deliberating not only on climate change and how we adjudicate on those matters, but we will be big on the solutions that would enhance our capacity to deal effectively with the issues. The Hajiner will also hold their annual general meeting, and they will inaugurate a new board, because the board that has been there, I think its term has come to an end. So it's the conference, the symposium, the CJ's meeting, and the Hajiner board meeting. So those are the three in one, because Hajiner was registered here in Kenya as a company registered by guarantee or a trust that can be able to manage this mandate of bringing together the judiciaries and ensuring that we have best practices that guide us and a common approach for all of us.
You've talked about how other jurisdictions would like to benchmark, for example, with the case, in this instance, of the Environment and Land Court. You're talking about how we need to move together as a region.
Yeah.
You said what is happening next week is unique in that we're having all these Chief Justices, 27, converging in one country, in one city,
yes,
on the continent. You have hosted a number of delegations yourself. Is that part of these efforts to move together as a region?
Yes, we need to move together, you're right. And also, Kenya has attracted a lot of interest as a destination or a hub for judicial dialogues, judicial discussions, and judicial leadership. Since I became Chief Justice slightly under 2 years now, I have hosted over 20 delegations coming to Kenya. Last year we hosted the the year before, 2021, immediately I became the Chief Justice. We hosted the South African Forum for Chief Justices, and 16 Chief Justices came here, and I was told that is the largest number of Chief Justices who have ever converged together in Kenya. Before then, maybe 3 Chief Justices would come together, but that was the largest. So there's a lot of interests in Kenya, and as you know, we unveiled the Kenya Judiciary Academy. We changed its name from JTI, and we have been allocated some 55 acres of land in the outskirts of Nairobi, where we intend to construct a world-class academy that is going to be a hub of judicial leadership, training and learning, not only for Kenya but the whole of Africa. But I like the style of Kenyans. We always solve our own problems and we manage, and that's how we managed to steer the Land and Environment Court, because when it started, there was a tendency to say, why would they just be dealing with land and environment? Give them other work. Within no time, we were giving them criminal, we were giving them other matters. Then a matter was found in court and we were told, listen, the Constitution said this is a specialized court. You can't give them other work. And therefore, the court upheld that position. We hope we will continue in this trajectory, and we will continue also to improve the capacity of ourselves as judiciary so that we can make sound decisions on matters relating to these very difficult matters, and other people can make reference to our jurisprudence, but most importantly, we can actually be there to protect the environment, the natural resources, and ensure that our people get justice.
All right. Thank you for speaking to us this afternoon.
Welcome. Thank you. Thank you.